Welcome to the Renee Report, bringing you issues of topical interest. Hello everyone, I'm Renee Mehrra and welcome to the Renee Report, bringing you issues of topical interest. Today my guest has come from India. He's Mr. Jagat Shah, founder and chairman of Mentor on the Road, both for India and the United States. And he's also the founder and chairman of Cluster Pulse and Global Network. And something very unique about him, he and his son are traveling by car in different parts of the United States, different cities, different states. So let's talk first about Mentor on Road. It's something very different. We're talking about not just visiting the cities and different states, but you have a strong purpose behind it, a great agenda. So you're working with two governments, the Indian government, Department of Commerce, and the US Department of Commerce, and bringing them together on many collaborative efforts. Your Mentor on Road starts, I think, in a couple of days.
Yes.
And so you and your son and your wife are going to be going in all these places in your SUV car.
Yes, yes.
It's amazing. In 78 days,
Thank
you're going to
you.
be traversing so many miles. So tell us, I know that you went to the United Nations Women yesterday with Ms. Lakshmi Puri, the executive director. And tell us about how this collaboration is coming through in different ways.
So, long distance driving has been my and my family's hobby. We have been doing it for 15 years. Last year we did an all India tour by road of a similar type. I met about 6,000 to 7,000 companies in India, and young startups and women businesses and small medium companies. Then I thought that if I have to take this global, then which is the country which I should start with? And I realized that India and US are the largest trading partners. For India, US is that. So I planned for US, and when I planned it, I immediately got a very positive response from the United States Commercial Service. So this is supported by them, and then Ministry of Commerce, Government of India also supported. So in this mission in US, I am meeting 4 type of people every day in 32 cities. So in the morning I meet young startups, American startups, and I try to find out if they are working on some solutions, products or services which are relevant to India. I connect them to Indian companies. In the afternoon I meet with women owned businesses through women empowerment institutions, and 2 things I am trying to find out from them. One, that the women participation in American economy is today 62%, and 30 years back it used to be 35%. So I want to find out what has changed, what has happened, because when you look at India, we are between, there are different statistics, but it ranges between 10 to 20%, which is very low, even if we take 20. So what are the best practices I can take from here, and then go and talk to the same institutions which I met in India when I was doing the same too. Second component is to connect American women businesses to Indian women businesses, so that they can do business with each other. And in February 2018 in Mumbai, we are planning to do a Indo-US Women Business Conference between the 2 governments as well as these institutions, and we will try to invite all of them. Third meetings I will be having is with small and medium businesses in the chambers of commerce, which US Export Assistance Center has set up, and I am presenting to them that India is a complex market, but how to simplify it and how to export to India. And lastly, in the evening every day I am meeting the Indian diaspora, and I am presenting to them a very unique approach which I don't think has ever been presented, saying that whichever village or town you came from, whichever year in US, you adopt that. We will do diagnostic study, we will convert it into a smart village in 3 to 4 years. We do not need any investment from them. We need their commitment, their involvement, their execution, their knowledge, experience, contacts, that's all, and everything else we will be arranging. So these are the 4 programs I will do, and I am expecting to meet 3,000 to 4,000 American companies in this whole entire tour.
So this is your first time you're doing this in the United States?
Yes, yes, first time. And yesterday I had a meeting with the UN Women, and I have been in touch with them, and so many things I came to know, and I was also pained, and so I decided, so there is a very strong program they run which is called He for She.
Yes.
Right. So what I'm going to do, I got a badge from Lakshmi Puri and Ravi Karkara, and
Yes.
so I am going to keep that badge and meet, or whenever I meet people, I will be explaining about he for she with posters also.
Yes.
And secondly, we are planning to there is a Orange Day. They have Orange Day from 25th of November 2017 to 10th of December. 16 days I will do a drive in India only to promote the UN Women Mission. So those are some of the initiatives we decided to work on, and by 2030 they have a slogan of Planet 50-50.
Planet 50-50. I was coming to that.
Yes.
Actually, I have talked to Lakshmi Puri about this.
Right.
You know, we had the Gender Equality March a couple of years ago, and they continue to have that. You know, despite all those Millennium Development Goals now, Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs that have moved on, they're talking of Planet 50-50 by 2030. I hope we can do that, because we still see gender inequality in patriarchal societies. There's a lot that can be done, especially when we talk about women empowerment, and that comes through education. So we do see primary education, they're coming pretty much on the goal. But when we're talking of secondary and tertiary education, we see women, girls in villages are not able to do it because of hygiene issues. They get married very soon. So there's education that has to be done with boys and girls and parents. So it has to be like a triangulate kind of a data that has to be produced, so that everybody knows that this issue has to be addressed in different ways.
Correct.
So how are we doing that in villages? But I was surprised to, I just want to go off on a little bit on this, that in USA, women get 85 cents to $1.
Right.
And we're talking about gender equality, but in India, you get the same amount. So that is a very interesting component that comes up in the picture of societies that are patriarchal and societies that have to push for Planet 50-50 all around the world. We're talking about that. So talk about that in terms of how, A, we can get women to go into more secondary and tertiary education, so they get into the workforce. Like you talked, they're only 20%. Here we have 62%. Maybe that's because of the education issues and the paradigm shift that we need. And once they join the workforce, they're getting the same amount.
All right. Yeah, so you know, it's interesting that you raised this. So Mr. Modi, Prime Minister of India, he started a campaign which is called Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao.
Yes.
Very interesting campaign, and that is yielding very good results. And that is at a village level. The movement is at the village level. Secondly, about the parity in pays, I think what has happened is about 20-25 years back, when the IT boom started in India, that was the sector which led the parity. Because in IT sector, and that then percolated into other sectors. So the parity is something very encouraging, particularly in public sector undertakings in India. There is a complete pay parity, right? So if you look at private or public, both, it's a very strong. And Mr. Modi's government is so strong, they understand this issue, that Prime Minister keeps talking about that when women start earning money, they generally save for children's education and healthcare, particularly at villages. And so he says that is how can we ever become an economic power if almost 30% of our population is not part of the economic workforce. So it's a very strong focus of this government. And during this Mentor on Road tour, I am also going to propagate 7 mission mode programs of the government of India, like Digital India, Startup India, Stand Up India is for women. I will again speak about it, something interesting. And then there are programs like Smart Cities and Smart Villages,
but we
and
now
Skill
have
India.
Smart Villages here.
Right, and Skill India. So I am going to tell what is happening in those, particularly to the Indian diaspora, because I believe that they are not aware about it. They may be reading somewhere, but I will be telling them success stories from my Indian tour. Coming back to the women empowerment issues in India, so there is a program which has been started by Prime Minister Modi, is called Stand Up India, which is very interesting. When the program was launched, it is for women. 110,000 bank branches in India, all across the country, were told that you have to give one loan to a woman in your branch in next 3 to 6 months. What happened is, it was done. So we are talking of having created 110,000 women entrepreneurs by one one notification, right? And when women are taking loan, it has been found in India and everywhere in the world, they are very responsible to repay.
True.
So that is number one. Number two, under the Stand Up India, most interesting thing is that there is no collateral security up to $250,000, that they don't have to give a collateral security, right? So that is, and third is now they can start applying for the loans on the portal. Earlier, we had to go to the bank physically.
Right.
Now no need, I can apply on the portal, and the bank has to say yes or no, and that too on the portal.
So how many, you said 110,000
bank branches.
So women have benefited through this.
Yes.
How long has this been on?
About a year.
I see.
Yeah.
So women have got into startup businesses?
Yes.
In villages?
Yes. Most of the impact has been in villages. Another very interesting initiative is the only women's industrial park, which has been built in Ahmedabad by the Gujarat government. So in that industrial park, it's a manufacturing zone, but only women-owned businesses can participate and can take land and build their buildings. And already, I believe, 20 such factories have started. And there is a provision of 100. So the focus is through economic notifications. The government has the power to be able to bring them into the economic workforce, and that is what they are practicing.
That's very interesting. So we talked about, you said smart cities, which was Prime Minister Modi's initiative, and that's what you're doing as well as collaborating with them. Let's talk about smart villages, smart grid technology, which India is really moving ahead with it. Renewable energy. India's actually energy consumption doubled from 2000. And what I know is by 2040, they want 40% of renewable energy in India. That's a very big agenda, and to work on it, I hope that can work out. And then using renewable energy through solar and through wind. And going back to smart grid technology, I think Gujarat had that canal solar power project, which was, I think, initiated by you.
No, by Mr. Modi.
By Mr. Modi, and where you were working on. And that has produced a lot of great results. I mean, you're talking irrigation to farms, and you're talking of electricity to villages. Are you going to use that same canal solar power project in different cities in India as well?
Yeah, so that was very interesting when Mr. Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. He initiated this project because...
And you were part of it, right?
I was also involved in certain stage. We have these huge Narmada canals in Gujarat, and they were taking water to farms. So one of the challenges at that time with solar was availability of land, because land is costly in Gujarat, and it is owned by farmers. So they thought the idea was to put the solar panels on the top of the canal. Not only it doesn't need land, but even water evaporation reduces. So there is more water stays in the canal, and the farmers can draw the power also with the water just across the canal. It was hugely successful, and it is being taken across the country. More importantly, a rooftop solar policy came into place. So in every home in India, in Gujarat particularly, now it is all across the country, you can put a rooftop solar up your house or even offices. And Mr. Modi used to say that this is actually an empowerment of the poor, because the poor can also put this rooftop on the top. Their consumption is low, but then they can sell the balance power. And they can make money out of that. So that played a very important role. And wind is also being supported, wind energy, and so there is a very strong focus, and a ministry has a special department called MNRE, which works exclusively with a focus on renewable energy.
Right. So I believe that India's economy is very connected with the energy sector at this point of time. With all the solar and wind energy that we're talking about. And are you talking in Mentor on Road in USA as well, mentoring on rural enterprises? You do that in India. You do that in India,
right.
Mentor on the Road. What about here? Are you also giving mentoring and counseling on issues like renewable energy in different cities and states in the US?
Yes. So what I am presenting them is an opportunity in India. I am telling American companies that if you have got technology, see, one of the challenges in the power sector in India is not only the power generation, but also the utilization of the power plants.
Right.
And thirdly, the theft which also takes place of the power in many areas. There are technologies in US and there are companies which can offer these technologies to India. First of all, to increase capacity utilization. Secondly, to reduce the theft by catching it at the right time, like smart meters and so many other components. So, I am presenting this opportunity to them. While speaking about, just to add to you, like today, Gujarat is a power export state in India. It has become power sufficient, and this is because of the initiatives which Mr. Modi took as a chief minister. So I am going to talk about these opportunities on the power, on the renewable energy sector.
Like if they have to adopt a village from where they came from, they can do this.
Yes, I will give you an example of there is a lady who was awarded Padma Shri near Indore, who has converted a small village into a completely solar village. Right, and they do everything. So they have combined solar and wind together. So if there is a clouds and the wind is supporting it. And for example, what is the biggest problem with farmers in India is the perishability of the product. Our infrastructure is weak to move it. We do not have proper cold storages. Our access to markets for the farmers is poor. She has done a fantastic thing. She has set up a solar dryer. Suppose there is a farmer who grows tomatoes. Tomato life is 3 days. So by the time he can't sell, he sells at distress sell at 3 rupees a kg. But what she has done is, she has asked them to set up the solar dryers, and they just cut the tomato and they put it on drying. This dried tomato has a life of 3 months. You can make soup out of it, you can make ketchup, you can use it as a vegetable, and therefore they don't do the distress sales now. And therefore they get good price.
How much do these solar dryers cost?
These are like handmade. It is so interesting. These are handmade, very simple, very practical. These would cost hardly $200.
So are they going to be using them here, the same technology that you're talking about, the solar dryers over here?
Yeah. So the limitation with this indigenous technology in India is that you cannot replicate it at mass scale. So we are looking at American technologies which can pick that up, and they may have been working on some, and we take it at a larger scale across the country. This is only an experiment in one village, but to replicate it across the country would need a technology.
It's been experimented in Gujarat village?
In Indore, in Madhya Pradesh.
In Indore.
In Madhya Pradesh.
But the irony is, I mean, it's great that we're doing this, but what I know is that India is the third largest market in terms of gross electricity generation, but 250 million people still don't have electricity. So are we going to use this technology, or how are we going to speed it up to get those people as well to get electricity?
Yes, that's a very interesting point you raised. In fact, to add to you, so when this present government took charge in 2014, there were, I believe, about 40,000 or so villages in India with no power, and they've started working on a 5-year plan, and today I believe hardly 4,000 villages don't have power in the country. And that I believe amongst all the ministries in India, the power ministry is the most aggressive and most efficiently working on time bound plans, and it is really now percolating. And one example I gave was about Gujarat becoming a power surplus state, even though it's a highly industrialized state.
Right. So by, let's say, by another 5-10 years, everybody will have electricity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, we talked about earlier before the interview, we talked about industrial gas emissions, sinter plants. But if you're having solar energy, that reduces the pollution right away. How do you work with residents that are nearby, or workers who should wear protective gear if they're using industrial gas emissions? Because the air quality gets degraded and the environmental degradation gets really worse, and it can really change your health in many ways, in an adverse way, whether you're talking of lungs or respiratory system or stomach problems. So how do you address those industrial gas emissions, especially in these kind of plants, for neighbors, residents, and for the workers? Is there any sort of safeguards that the Indian government has put out?
You see, in India, the entire industrial structure is divided into 3 parts. One is the large corporates, we call Indian multinationals. Second is the small and medium enterprises, and the third is micro. So if you look at the large industries in India, the Indian MNCs, they have all almost adopted the ISO certification for environment protection. So they have already in place all these protection measures, and they every year go through their audits of ISO certification. The real challenge comes in the small and medium enterprises because they do not have access to finance as well as access to technology.
So environmental monitoring is very important
is a challenge in the small and medium end, and there actually you have touched a very important point. So there we are looking at technologies from India where we can, that is what we have also circulated to all the chambers, that if you have companies who can help us with that small medium enterprise segment, because it is so large in India. Just to share with you, we have 20 million small medium enterprises, and therefore if there is a technology which can reduce the price, but the scale of quantity will be so large that they will still make a lot of money. So we are looking for those type of technologies, and the micro sector is also okay, because there are a lot of solutions which have come out. Just to give one small example, in villages it doesn't happen now so much, but used to happen, is that the women would cook on firewood.
Yes.
So the gas, the smoke which came out was harmful. Now what has happened, and this is what Janak Palta I was mentioning about, the Padma Shri winner in Indore, she has come out with a system that old newspapers are converted into briquettes, and those briquettes are used as a fuel instead of wood, and it is a smokeless fuel.
Excellent.
So the micro sector is benefited through such innovations, and the small and medium sector is where technology is required today.
Wow. I mean, that will reduce morbidity and sicknesses and illness and chronic illnesses.
Yes,
that's a very interesting point. So I hope we can get these solar dryers and you know what you're talking about. These are great innovative technologies that can help people to live more healthier lifestyles. What are you expecting from this tour of 24 states in USA, 31 cities, 78 days, 15,452 miles? It's a huge thing. What kind of outcomes are you expecting?
Yes. So at the end of the year, we have thought that, because we will be mentoring. It's not that I'll just go and then get out in a day. I will be mentoring these companies for a year. And this is a complimentary service. We are just out of my hobby. My business is different. I do another business. So I will mentor them for a year, and at the end of the year, we want to create 100 success stories of connecting American businesses to Indian businesses, which will include the women-owned businesses. So if at the end of the year I am able to create 100 success stories that we created these connections and they are doing business together, that would be our achievement of our target.
That's wonderful. And then of course your startups that you're talking about and collaboration with smart cities and smart villages. So are you looking at villages here as well in the US, the rural areas, and working with them?
Yes, in fact some of the learnings I would say we have from India which can be transferred here in terms of village strengthening. So those lessons I have prepared a presentation and I will be sharing with, because on the road when I am going between two cities, I am going to pass through a lot of small villages, and I have made sure that between every two cities where I travel, I want to travel to one village. So that time I am going to speak about it, and as well as the US government tourism people, the media people in the Bombay consulate have arranged something interesting for me, that on the route they have given me by the roadside what are the good eating spots I can go and eat, and I am going to do Facebook Live, and they are going to tweet it. Today their embassy portal and their Facebook and has 1 million people as viewers. So they are going to, and I am also going to go to some nearby tourist spots, because we want to also promote travel and tourism. I remember Mahatma Gandhi has said that if you want to understand a country, you should travel within the country. So we want to use this occasion to also bring the travel spots of unknown travel spots. Everybody knows the big travel spots of US in India, but the unknown are not known. This we will project, and also the food.
Wonderful. So, I mean, you and your wife and your son are traveling. So, are you going to be, who's driving you? This
so,
is like
all three of us. All three of us. So, we all three.
Of you going to be driving?
Yes, by turns.
My God.
That's what we did even in India, and that's what we do everywhere.
Wow, that's amazing. To travel in US roads, and so there is no rest over here. I mean, of course, you're going to stop over in different places. But this is like a very difficult
Yes.
and challenging
True.
purpose that
True.
mission that you've taken upon yourself.
True.
And I wish you all the very best,
Thank you.
Mr. Jagat Shah, because I'm sure we can learn a lot, and I think both countries can create actually a big paradigm shift in how they think and look at and how they value renewable energy, especially for the next generation. I think the kids should learn about renewable energy, and that education and advocacy should be done more towards them, so they really get to understand the importance and significance of renewable energy and solar and wind energy. Well, we'd love to have you back again, maybe after when you visited after 78 days. You should come back and tell us what, how did it go through. Thank you very much. Guest today has been Jagat Shah, founder and chairman of Mentor on Road, both for India and the United States, as well as founder and chairman of Cluster Pulse and Global Network. And he's going to be taking this tour for 78 days in the United States. I'm Renee Mehrra. Thank you so much for watching the Renee Report. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome to the Renee Report, bringing issues of topical interest.